Yo, I need to block fruit or you're not maxed. And you want some tips to level up faster? If so, then stick to the end of the video, because I got 7 tips for new players and those who are not maxed yet. So yeah, this is a revamp of my old video but has way more information and it's also 10 times better. So please stick to the end of the video, bruh. Alright, so for the first leveling tip of the video, I call this the Fountain City method. If you're new to the game or using an alt account that's completely fresh, then this will work wonders for you. So what you're gonna do is go to the Fountain City, see these NPCs that are covered by the wall. Now you're gonna lure these NPCs and start hitting them. Since they can't hit you through the wall, you can keep on damaging them until they eventually die. And if they do die, you will go all the way from level 0 all the way to level 55, which is crazy. Alright, now let's move on to the next tip. Alright, so for tip number 2, this one seems pretty obvious, but it's often overlooked and not used properly. And that is using the XP codes. If you're not maxed out yet, bro, use more XP codes because they can save a lot of time and they can help you reduce the pain of grinding. If you're in the first seed, you should be using nearly all of your XP codes. And bro, don't worry about using and wasting all the XP codes, bro. The first seed is boring as shit, so you might as well just use it anyways. Let's be real here. And if you're in the second seed and you still have extra XP codes to use, why not use them? You know what I mean? I see a lot of people saving their XP codes just to barely even use them at all. Bro, look at all these available XP codes you could use right now. Why not use them? You know what I mean? And if you want to get even more XP codes, you can join the Blox Discord. Here's the link. Admins frequently post new XP codes and star reset codes there. Or you can go to the Gamer Robot channel. Alright, so now let's move on to the most important part of the video, so please don't skip. This is hella important to grinding as efficiently as possible. And I'm talking about your entire setup progression in Blox Suites, all the way from level 0 to level 2650. So let's get into it. So when you load into Blox Suites, I recommend to grind the starter NPCs and save up until you get 1000 money. You're gonna buy a sword and put most of your stats in sword and just put a little bit on melee and defense. Just continue grinding normally, and next, you'll need to save up for an elemental fruit. These are all the elemental fruits in the game, with the cheapest one being the smoke fruit at just 100,000 belly. Once you get an elemental fruit, use a stat reset code and put your stats mainly on fruit, and a little bit can go to the melee and defense stats so you don't gas out and die easily. And after that, you should save up money for the life fruit, which only costs 650,000 money at the Blox Fruit dealer. The life fruit is by far the best fruit grinding within the first seed, as it can do a lot of damage and it's an elemental fruit at the same time. You get it by any means possible, either from spinning or buying it while it's on stock. When you've unlocked the life fruit, keep on grinding and try to save up at least 750,000 money. Once you got that money, head over to the underwater city and buy the water kung fu fighting style. You won't be using this fighting style right now, but it's super useful for the future. But after that, make sure to always have more than 1.2 million money saved up, as it will be super useful when you reach the second sea. Once you reach the second sea, and you're finally out of that damn first sea, try to get the Buddha fruit by any means possible, since it's the final piece of the puzzle to complete the ultimate setup. You can get the Buddha fruit either from trading, which is pretty hard since the Buddha is pretty valuable, rolling from the gacha, which is hard since the Buddha is a rare out fruit, or the easiest option by far is just buying it from the Blox Fruit dealer with that 1.2 million you got saved up, which will take a while since the Buddha fruit has to be on stock for you to even buy it. Also, once you got that Buddha fruit, make sure to reset your stats for the last time and put your stats on melee and a little bit of stats on defense as well so you don't die as easily. Finally, the last thing you gotta do is awaken that Buddha fruit. Awakening it will make the reach longer and the defense stronger, which are pretty useful abilities for grinding, don't get me wrong. But if you want to awaken it, you gotta complete the Buddha raid, which still happens to be the hardest raid in the game. It's basically impossible to solo that Buddha raid by yourself, so you're kinda cooked, but no worries. I recommend either asking/begging the server, or going to the Blox Fruit Discord and trading a good fruit in return for a Buddha raid. But don't worry, you only gotta do the raid once, since all you gotta do is awaken the Buddha transformation move. But finally, we're done with the setup. Now let's move on to the next tip to grind levels as efficiently as possible. This tip can save you from quitting Blox fruits altogether. So listen up please, I need watch time. But I see a lot of people straight raw dogging it and grind for hours and hours and hours every day, mindlessly hopping from one island, killing 5 generations of NPCs, then moving on to the next island, bruh. This can get pretty boring pretty quickly. So make sure to take breaks from grinding frequently, because if you keep on playing and playing, and you keep on grinding mindlessly, which is like the most boring part of Blox fruits, then you're for sure gonna quit the game for a while, or maybe even forever. Blox fruits is actually a pretty fun game in my opinion, at least when you don't gotta grind mindlessly for hours and hours and hours every day, bro. I can speak on this exact thing, but let me tell you a little story. And one day, I grinded from level 300, which is Magma Island I think, all the way to the second sea, straight raw dogging in one sitting, only using one singular XP code to help me out. After doing all that shit, bro, I got so bored and dead ass quit for 2 months. And that should tell y'all something. So this tip is hella convenient, and it could be more efficient for you in terms of grinding levels and blocks. And this tip is, instead of killing NPCs for quest levels, you should kill bosses instead. Nice. If you're in the first to second sea, I recommend trying this method out at least and see where that takes you. But if you want to do it, it's pretty simple. All you gotta do is get the quest for the boss, kill the boss, and get your levels. Click on the server tab, switch servers, get the quest again, and just repeat the whole process again. There is a likely chance of a boss already being spawned there once you arrive to a new server. But if you're in the third sea, tough luck I guess, as most of the bosses in the third sea will already be killed by the people who want easy money or easy mastery. But now let's move on to the next tip, chat. Alright, so the final tip is about making small tweaks to your setup. What I mean by that is getting extra things that will benefit you, such as accessories and abilities such as the instinct and aura abilities, and literally every other ability that this guy sells underneath his cave. These things may seem small in the moment, but they'll add up over time, and these quote-unquote small things will be useful once you reach max level. The best accessories you should get is the Parlor's Cape in the first sea, which only costs 50,000 money from this Marine Fortress NPC, and here are all the buffs. For the second sea, you should get the Swan Glasses, which you can get from killing the Dawn Swan boss, and here are all the buffs to the accessory. Last but not least, for the third sea, the accessory you should definitely get is the Hunter Cape. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Make sure to like, sub, and comment any more tips you have for grinding and shit. To be honest bro, I don't even know what else to say.